I don't have to die to reclaim my spiritual gifts. I can literally bring them into my physical reality now and be not a superhuman, but just a more connected human, a more conscious human, and use my spiritual gifts, use my...
Well, we have a real treat for you guys. We have Diana Palm from Cottonwood. And Diana, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, I am most known for my grief healing work. I've been working with changing or kind of shifting grief consciousness and working with some other amazing people in the industry. Working more along the lines of clearing spiritual attack, global grief, and helping people really understand grief on a spiritual level. I've been doing spiritual work my whole life. So,
do you find that people are struggling more with that now than maybe?
Yeah, thank you. Ever since COVID, we've been experiencing global grief, which is a real crisis on the planet, okay? And so there's so much loss, and loss of life, loss of job, loss of stability, home, everything, loss of way of living even, that people are really vibrating in a state of grief. So this is something that has really, really increased drastically globally since 2020. So we're experiencing that simultaneously with experiencing global spiritual attack, which is part of the waking up process, the spiritual waking up and ascension process. So I use both of those specific energies to help people really spiritually awaken, tap into their spiritual gifts, do their healing, and get into the next vibration, which I'm kind of calling like the next shift for humanity, is when we're really tapping in with the spiritual as a way of daily life.
Right. And this is out there for some viewers. You may or may not agree with all of the information we talk about here, but it's Shuri and my belief that all of this is leading to something, that things like COVID or other disasters in the world that seem like a bad thing, but are actually maybe a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, human beings don't just learn or grow out of will. I mean, there usually is a catalyst. Oftentimes I refer to that as a soul opening experience, something that just breaks you wide open, it breaks your heart, it changes your reality in such a way that you are pushed to grow. And that's really what all the negative things that we kind of consider negative or very, very difficult, challenging to live through, they're all soul-opening experiences that are opportunities for us to really grow and develop spiritually.
Well, as humans, we like comfort.
Yes, we do.
and we get stuck.
Yes.
Though, because, it is all of a sudden you get fired from a job, your marriage dissolves, you get a health diagnosis that's really bad, and it makes you get to a low point so you can maybe have a reset.
Most of us won't change unless we have to. Let's face it. Like, I like things the way they are. I just organized my life. I like the way I eat, or I like my routine. And as soon as we lock into that, then we're like, okay, I think I figured out life. I think that this is exactly where I'll stay. And we, even in our timeline, maybe 10 years I'll change something, or 20 years down the road. And we start to make all these plans, and then life comes and kind of kicks you in the butt and is like, how about now? You're like, no, I just got it all right.
It's kind of funny, right? When you have a little personal celebration, everything is working great in my life, and then something changes. And you think, it's bad, but it's actually that next step of your spiritual journey or your evolution to make that next breakthrough, right?
Yeah, I really think that that's the most challenging part of being on Earth and being physical, because I feel like we're always being called to grow and to be in the flow, right? And if we're settling down and going, yes, I've got it all tucked in neatly, I know where I live, I know my car's running, I know this is my job, or whatever, we have all these pieces that are in place, and our identity is so much a part of that, right? How we relate to ourselves in the world. And then one of those pieces changes or goes missing, and then we scramble to try to create that stability again. But in those things that we hold on to, I would say that those are the things that often pull us out of flow, and when we're in the flow, and I think that this was a real big shakeup for humanity. Many of the people I know have not been in permanent homes anymore. Their relationships changed. Many went into RV living. They're just being a lot more nomadic and free-flowing. And so that's brought in kind of like this easier way of life, different change of perspective and goals for people. So it's ushered in a lot of freedom.
Right. We have a lot of viewers that recently have sold their houses, quit their jobs, look for something they can do on the road.
Yes.
And embraced RV life or van life. And they're searching. It's like we're searching for that answer, you know, because with the Matrix world or whatever, when you work really hard, 20, 30, 40 years at a job, you're trying to create something and it ends up not working, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and things will, ideally, we will have at a certain point a little bit more normalcy. I mean, maybe after living the RV life for a number of years, people will want to buy a house and feel more stable again, feel more stabilized after they've felt the freedom and seen what they wanted to see and experienced things differently. And there's nothing bad about that, but I think it's going to be, when it comes back, I think it'll be much more balanced, where people are not overworking, they're taking more vacations, they're spending more time outside because they realize the benefits of it. For so long, people were just living that really kind of sculpted life, like do this, buy the biggest house, get the next biggest house, and they're just living a house poor life, you know, where they're not allowed to take time off, they're not allowed to go on vacation, they're not spending time with their kids in the garden, you know, they're just work. And so that is done. That is an old timeline now. That's an old story for us.
Right, and sometimes we talk about it's, you know, going nomadic can be like a sabbatical.
Yeah, I think it's a retraining. Yeah, I think sometimes we go really far the other way to find out where that delicate balance is. You know, you can still be super successful, you can still have beautiful homes, but there's that balance with I'm not overworking and sacrificing my time. My personal time, my time with my friends or children or pets or just out in nature. So that's one of the reasons I love living here, because that's what we do all the time. We're always out in the desert exploring, the coolest things, petroglyphs, vortices, like everything.
Yeah, we love it here. I grew up in Sedona. Family had a cabin there, and so spent many weekends here. Just becoming more aware of some of the things going on in this area. Where do you think all of this is going? What is the collective trauma around COVID and some of these other things? Where is that taking humanity?
It is definitely a spiritual wake up, like I said. And I feel that the next step, we've been so conditioned, you know, like when you're little, you see a ghost and you're like, oh my gosh, there's a ghost in my room. And your mom or your dad is like, that's not real. And you're like, there's a monster in my closet. That's not real. And you're like, then why am I seeing it? You know, and at a certain age, we stop seeing it. But it doesn't mean it disappeared. It's still there, but we literally can't see it anymore. We can't pick up on the frequency of it. It's still there, okay? And so all these things that I feel is happening to humanity is getting us out of, we've been conditioned to be limited. We've been conditioned to just be a mundane physical human in a physical body, and these things that are waking people up are reminding them that we're spiritual first before we're physical. And I feel that we're reaching into, like, I don't have to die to reclaim my spiritual gifts. I can literally bring them into my physical reality now and be not a superhuman, but just a more connected human, a more conscious human, and use my spiritual gifts, use my intuition, use my ability to heal, use all of my resources spiritually, instead of saying, does that even exist? People that are traditionally going to like mainstream doctors only are now going to all kinds of holistic doctors and ancient practices that have been on earth forever, you know, before traditional medicine came in.
Right, it's not new age, it's actually old age
it is,
information.
Exactly, that's what humanity is always, you know, there's some things, of course, through traditional medicine that have been progressive, that are good, and I think there's a balance. But yeah, I think we're just reclaiming all of the natural aspects, you know, the herbs, the food, the climate, just being connected to everything.
Right, and I think, like, backing up, you said realizing that we're a spirit first, and the physical is like an addition to that. When I think we grow up, everything's physical. We live in a physical world.
Yes.
Maybe when we say spiritual practice, we're not meaning religion. Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. And a lot of the traditional religions have really struggled because they can't maintain the control they once had.
Right.
You know, and religions are always fighting each other anyways, you know, who's got more land, who's got more, you know, power from God or whatever. And so they're always going at it, which is exactly opposite of being spiritual.
Right. We're the chosen ones. We are. It's like we're all chosen.
Yeah, yes.
All of us being here, we're chosen.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we chose this and we're chosen. So spirituality is honoring the God within everybody, you know, honoring that we are all co-creators. Like you can go out and do helpful work for people like that are seeking help, and people that don't want to honor their free will because they're creating their reality. So we don't have to build a whole story around it or a big I have to save them story. It's like honor that everyone truly is a co-creator. We are all here. We're all creating our life. And we can honor that aspect in one another more through spirituality than any type of specific religion.
So Diana, when you work with your clients, what do you do?
Well, it depends on what my client needs. So in Sedona, there is actually a lot of spiritual attack going on, which many people from the outside don't know. They come here for like spiritual healing and this and that. But with all these vortex areas and portals opening and closing, there is a lot of increased activity, both good and bad. So you get intense variations here. So a lot of people that come here initially receive healing, and then the longer they're here, they start to experience spiritual attack.
Really?
So sometimes through entities, sometimes through ETs. So I help people to work through that and heal those situations. And then, like I said earlier, I do heal a lot of people with grief, spiritual attack. You know, I have clients from all over the world, so they have different issues. Sometimes people are like, I just want to clean up the gunk. I feel stuck or whatever. And it's like, oh, okay. And I can work with their spirit and their programming, their subconscious programming, their energy, and just help them shift into the next space for themselves. Some people have, you know, once they've done like kind of like the dirty work, that they did some cleanup work, then they're like, now I want to work with you in this aspect where I'm actually creating more prosperity and happiness and love in my life. And I'm like, awesome. It's a real turning, you know, when somebody gets to that point. And I've seen people just, you know, get out there and be producers and very successful.
Right. I imagine you have people say, I just come to you, I want to be more successful.
Yeah.
When it's like, all right, well, what else is going on that's holding you back? You got to
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Like, so, it's really typical when men want to be more successful, they'll come to a healer like me and they'll say like, I want to be more successful. I want to make more money. And we'll find out it's directly tied to when they were 6 years old and they were abused, okay? And that's a self-esteem, it's how comfortable they feel in their root chakra, which is the money chakra. It's tied to a lot of things, but it's like as soon as you see that, you're like, well, let's help you clear this trauma and build up your self-esteem, which I do through beliefs. I clear beliefs, I download feelings, and help them embrace a new aspect of themselves, which I would say it's different than typical forgiveness work. I would say that that's old school as well. You know, obviously the concept of forgiveness is a good thing, but forgiveness still holds in place that somebody did something wrong to you. But if you understand that you both had a contract to teach, then there's no forgiveness necessary. It's just a higher perspective on it. So when you shift that, you actually gain back all your power in the situation.
Right. Your worst enemy in this life is actually your teacher, and you had this agreement to have this conflict to both learn, right?
Yes. And people are like, they struggle with it. They're like, and I did it too. You know, there were things that I had held against my parents, you know, from an early age, and I spent many years praying, trying to forgive, trying to change my perspective on it. I mean, I struggled with it a lot. And then finally, through the work that I do, I was able to shift it. But I had somebody else like me work with me to help me see. And it was just such an easy epiphany. It went like that. But really, it comes to releasing. You don't have to forgive. There was nothing wrong to begin with. So you look at that pain that you took on and the suffering and the wrongdoings or the hurtful actions, the abuse, whatever it was that you took on, and you have to go up higher and say, why did my soul need to experience this? What did I learn from this? And how can I turn this into a positive for myself and for others, for humanity? How can I shift?
And sometimes, like, let's say the gentleman that comes to you, I want to be more successful, I want to make more money.
Yeah.
Sometimes just finding that trauma, healing that trauma, wherever it was, that's all you need.
Yes.
Just removing that blockage.
Yes.
And everything they want just happens.
It's true. Yes. So many people, again, the physical way to make money is what has driven people into the big homes that they can't afford in the over commercial life, right? And so most people think if they want to make more money, they've got to go get more education, they've got to put in more hours, they got to sacrifice everything about their family life and really devote themselves to their job. I got to lock it down, I got to work harder.
Grind it out.
Yeah, like, no, that's old school. That is actually, there's no spiritual laws that support that. And so people understand more of the laws of the universe. You understand the spiritual laws behind it. It is all energy. And so when somebody has a shift in consciousness, they release a trauma that they've been holding their entire life. Their energy increases, their vibration raises, and they start to attract money, opportunity, and all the right stuff.
Yes, it's about flow.
Yes.
Yeah, just letting it flow, and instead of grabbing life by the horns and I got to wrestle life to make it happen the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Go with the flow. It's not just an old saying, it actually works.
Yes, you're exactly right. So it's like that's the difference between being physical and trying to force it to happen, or being spiritual and aligning yourself with what's going to happen, right? And so you like align yourself by feeling happy, by feeling content, by spending time in nature, by feeling peaceful. When you're not in that state and you find yourself feeling restricted and stuck, you're most often holding lots of resentments to the past, blaming other people, having a fear for yourself. Those are all things that actually get us super out of alignment and get us into a lot of discord in our life with relationships and money and everything else.
So you work with people all over the world?
Yes.
So you do it like online then?
Yep, I do. Okay. Well, I'm on the phone sessions.
Okay.
Yeah, people in other countries, we usually do like Skype or Messenger. Yeah.
Okay. And what we'll do is we'll put your contact information down below so people can get a hold of you. And you've also written some books as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, I've written 4 books, and 5 now. I wrote my first novel just a couple months ago. That was really fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was really fun. Again, it's kind of with the same concept, just really helping people get more connected spiritually. It also deals a lot with healing grief and connecting with loved ones in the afterlife. My first book, Setting Spirits Free, helps people clear the negative energies around them, get their connection, discern spirits. Because I've seen through my many years of teaching, there are people that think that they're with a spirit guide and it's actually a demon or an entity.
Wow.
You know, and I'm like, okay, when I've got a student telling me that they can't go up and connect with God because their spirit guide won't let them, I'm like, that's no spirit guide, okay? Because your spirit guide would want you to connect with God. So there's a lot of people that get into the metaphysical, that start opening up their gifts and stuff, and there's a lot out there. And so I really feel it needs to be spiritual education. People need to know to have discernment and how to clear things and how to cross over the ghosts and make sure that their own loved ones are at peace, you know, and then also using that same tool to heal their grief.
So Diana, what is going on in Sedona?
What isn't going on in Sedona?
That's a better question.
Yeah, I mean, there's just such a convergence of different energies here. You know, we're blessed to be in a very highly potent spiritual energy in an environment that is just very electric with different happenings. So we've got like, you know, portals opening and shutting. We've got UFO activity. We actually experience all these things everywhere on Earth, but in a super highly energetic area, it's going to be exaggerated. So you come to Sedona, you're bound to have a spiritual experience because it's a heightened energy here.
Is that why people are attracted to this area?
Yeah, and it's just so healing. There's just, you know, every different vortex impacts you differently. And then there's just so many other things in nature too that support that. So when I first started coming up here for myself, I came right after COVID actually, and I wanted to do some heart healing. I had spent a year with a very close person to me, and we went through, he had like 3 brothers die that year. So we were always going through the funeral experience. There was a lot of grief that year. And when I came out here alone, I was like, I need to like really cleanse my energy. I need to heal my heart. I need to recharge and get grounded. And so I would come up to Sedona and I would go to Cathedral Vortex, which is where I go for heart healing and to experience the release of grief. And I do retreats there. I bring people into the same
awesome.
place. Yeah. But I went there first for myself. I had to experience that I knew I needed to. And so that's a really special place. It's very soft energy to help you release the past.
It is. My mom's ashes are up there.
Oh,
yeah.
that's so sweet.
It was 9 years almost to the day.
Oh my
It was in last month that my kids joined me.
Oh,
and
that's so
we
special.
did that together. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so sweet. That's the best place. I couldn't have picked a better place.
And she was an artist. She was a painter. And so she actually painted Cathedral a lot.
So she felt really heart aligned with that
Yes.
too. Oh, that's so special.
Yeah, it really
well,
is.
it is. That's all about heart healing there. There's other places where people heal, but it's more abrupt or aggressive, or they're screaming and crying. In Cathedral, it's just peaceful and soft. It's like a mother's hug, It's beautiful energy.
And you talked about vortexes, and for people that are not aware of what a vortex is, can you describe that?
The human body has chakras, a lot of chakras, but there's 7 main chakras that affect the way that you experience energy, bring it into your body. And the earth is the same way. It's like a larger body, okay? And so there's vortex areas that are spinning areas of energy. Like I was at the Montana vortex, for instance, and that one I worked with a physicist that taught me the lines of demarcation. I think that's how you pronounce it, but where they overlap and where they're stronger, and there could be visual distortions, there could be time distortions, there's all kinds of metaphysical laws that are bent when you're inside of a vortex or in a vortex area. So basically the laws of physics get all mixed up. So that's why it's fun to come here to play, because you can see and experience things that are usually locked down in other areas.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And is it the red rocks?
The red rocks have their own impact on the environment, like what the rocks are made out of. But no, I don't believe it's the red rocks that are creating the vortexes.
Okay.
They add their own other element.
And so you mentioned ghosts and Bigfoot and aliens. All of this is happening in this area?
So much. Yeah. Most people go up to Jerome for the hauntings, right? And they don't think that they're running around Sedona or anywhere in the surrounding areas, but they always are. We're always surrounded by spirit. A lot of times when you go out, like let's say you go out into the desert for a hike, you're bound to run across some dwellings, some cliff dwellings, but then they also have the dwellings that are in the ground made of rock. Those are all
the
ancient.
kivas?
What do you call them?
Kivas.
Oh, I don't know that name yet.
Okay.
Pit houses.
Pit houses.
Yeah.
Right.
Pit houses, petroglyphs, and so you're in a lot of ancient areas. And for me, as an empathic person, a medium, I just start to see visions. Like I'll see Native Americans riding by on horseback, and I'm like, "Woo, what's happening?" And it's like a movie playing out. And I'm like, "Okay, so there's some areas that are highly concentrated that have like a recording of time in them, and some are going to be interactive, and some are just like playing out like a movie." And so it's kind of nice to know the difference when you're in these areas, but this area is like kind of a loop, kind of an opening, and it's just an area where everything's possible. We go out to watch UFOs. Everyone's like, "Oh, really? Did you see anything?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like 12 last night." Yeah, of course, every single night. This is just a really concentrated, active area.
We were here about a year ago, and someone said, "Yeah, look up, look around. That's not a satellite. That's not an airplane."
Right.
And we were like, "What?"
Yeah.
And we were like, "Wow!" And just. Again, having grown up in the area, I didn't realize all of this was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Are most of these entities, is it a lot of different kinds of entities going on?
Definitely.
Is there an amount? You say it's a couple dozen? Or
no, unlimited. There's just so many different things. And also with aliens, all different. The universe is unlimited, right? So it's not just 1 or 2 breeds or different types of species. There are unlimited. So a lot of things, like my friends and I will go out, we'll like drive really far out in the desert, and then we'll put down zero gravity chairs and lay there with our night vision goggles. And as soon as we see some UFOs, we're like, hey, here's one up there. And my other friend will grab like a laser and circle it and be like, oh, right there. And we're like, all can see exactly in the night sky where they're doing it. And we're like, yep, that's it. And then we all zone in on it, and we can watch it for a while, and it'll usually do some zigzags. Sometimes it'll blink different colors, and then boop, it'll be gone.
Right.
You know?
And some people have communicated
yeah.
that way.
Oh, yeah.
Ask for a response, and they'll like pulsate a light or something.
Yeah, there's intelligence. There's definitely, there's definitely two-way conversation. Much like what I found was very interesting, because so much of my background was with the paranormal. When I started hanging out with all my friends doing UFO stuff, we realized that many of the same tools you can use with UFOs. Same, like you got night vision, you got your flashlight, you've got, your headlight, you've got, recorders, you've got all the different stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, I can get into that. Like, I'm used to using it for like haunted environments, and now we're using it for UFOs. Same techniques with asking questions, getting answers, blink, once for yes, twice for no, all that stuff.
Do people need to be concerned when they go into an environment like this about having protection? Personally, I'm of the belief of, I feel like if I'm vibrating high enough and my energy is up, that I'm not going to pick up anything negative. That's my personal belief. I'm willing to be given new information. I'm open to that. And do we need to have protection or be careful with what we're looking into as we go? Because we go to ancient sites. We're going to be doing some filming around Bradshaw Ranch, and we've been to Skinwalker Ranch, or at least on the outside of it. So what do we need to do to protect ourselves, or what do other people need to do?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question, and you're partially right. Okay, if you come in with a strong energy, a positive energy, a high vibration, most of the negative entities and aliens will not even want to mess with you. But if, let's say, you have an unhealed wound or trauma and you're not paying attention to it, it's buried, and so you're like, oh no, I'm happy, I'm up here. But they're like, because they can see everything that you can't see. And that's really how they attach.
Read you like a book, right?
Yeah, because they're spiritual. They're not fooled by what we're putting off, Aliens are physical and spiritual, okay? And so we can address them in much of the same way as we do with ghosts and entities, that they can be in that realm. Even though they can also appear physical, we can deal with them in a large sense spiritually. I teach about spirituality. I was raised Catholic, and I very much believe in Jesus and God, and I love the angels and saints. I think they're just all amazing, and we should use them as much as possible to help us with our life. So anyways, what I have seen through my work in regard to protection with aliens is that planet Earth actually has a Christ consciousness around it that protects it. And so it's literally a light that is around the planet. And so when you consider aliens and different beings from other planets and different time and space are coming in, they have to get through that bubble, and we can use that bubble as our protection. So calling in the Christ consciousness, calling in the light of Christ is one of the best things you can do moving into an area where you're going to have UFO activity.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Does the Native American beliefs or legends about this all tie in with that? They all like skinwalkers are generally seen as a evil entity.
Yes.
And would that be like a Bigfoot, or that's completely
different?
Separate?
Completely different. Yeah, I had to learn about skinwalkers more through living here in Sedona and through my friends and people that research and have had experiences. Well, what I've learned is they're like one of the worst types of dark entities. They have to do certain things, like take lives in order to become a skinwalker. So they would be, in terms of my world spiritually, they would be a dark, dark spirit.
Okay. Have you experienced any of that here, or heard of anybody experiencing it here?
Yes. Not me personally, but yes, I do know people that have experienced that.
Okay.
Yes. A lot of that experience has occurred on Native American land or in a reservation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how would we avoid any entanglements
so
with
that's
that?
why, anytime you think about, okay, if I'm a spiritual being and I'm purposefully putting myself in an experience where I want to have a spiritual experience of some sort, right? You're not just going to the store and buying, bread. You're going out in the desert and you want to see UFOs or maybe see a Bigfoot or experience a ghost. Then you already know, I want to do something to spiritually protect myself. So this is where you can do some prayers. You can call in the Christ consciousness. You can do some a meditation to raise your vibration, to set your intention. Be very clear. Many people, when they're looking or seeking for a spiritual experience, they're just like, I just want to experience something. And I'm like, well, you don't want to just invite any spirit, any alien over, because unless you know the dark side, you don't want that, right? It's like going online and saying, hey, anybody who wants to date me, just come on over, No, you have to have discernment. Be specific, have discernment, set your intention, and do your spiritual protection. And when you leave an environment like that, if you're coming in from the desert and you've had some great experiences, or even if you didn't, I would still clear there too before you go back to your regular life and move about your regular life. So I would do protection moving in and clearing coming out.
And how do you clear coming out?
There's many different methods. You could do that through breath work, meditation, through prayer. You can use essential oils to help you. Some of my favorites would be frankincense. You can do some drumming. It's not going to clear any entities off you, but it'll kind of shake it out of your aura, out of your auric field.
Sage as well?
Yeah, you can do some sage, sure. Yeah, those are things that they won't get rid of the entity or ghost or alien, but they will lessen its hold on you physically, kind of help you move from one space to the next. So they're helpful tools.
Do you find that people have entities attached to them here and then follow them home?
Oh, yes.
Really?
Yes, big time. Yes. Yeah, a lot of things like in Sedona, a lot of the people, like I said, they come here because it's such a powerful place to be. And they come here to practice their work and their healing and to provide services for others. And then it starts with nightmares and spiritual attack and a lot of alien experiences. And, there's a lot of stuff that happens to them that they just did not expect because this is such a high vibrational area. But like I said, the portal is open. And so you get extremes of good and bad here. A lot of people forget those necessary steps. It's the basics to protect and to clear.
Now, is a portal the same as a vortex?
No, but they're often experienced together.
Okay.
Yeah, because portals can open and close, and they're often in, every time I've studied around vortex areas, there's always been portals that open and close. And those could be like an opening from another universe where everything can come through, but they might not be permanent. It might be a temporary opening.
And that's maybe how a lot of the Bigfoots and even ETs, and actually Bigfoots and ETs are kind of the same thing, right?
Well, I think they're different as well, but I haven't had any Bigfoot experiences here per se. I have out in the Burlington Vortex in Wisconsin. So my experiences with them is that they have been positive and playful, but they really have to trust you in order to come around.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so these portals are the way that they get around.
Yes, and they can also do I believe that they can do things like some of the aliens can, where they can cloak themselves and become invisible to the eye. There was an experience that I had in the Burlington Vortex where we were on a trail going out to the Vortex at night, and right alongside of us was heavily wooded, and we could hear it taking steps with us the whole way.
Wow.
We would take 3 steps, it would take 3 steps, we'd stop and look, and there's nothing. We couldn't see anything. All of us had our flashlights, and we're like, what? And we're like, okay, you start walking again, and it starts walking with us again, and we're like, what is happening, And so that's the way that we experienced the Bigfoot. Is didn't matter that we couldn't see it at all, and then when we were leaving the woods at night, there were little pebbles being thrown at us, which is kind of standard, little pebbles thrown at your shoes. And then we actually had gotten flanked where one came at us this way and growled, and everyone turned around and screamed and ran this way, and then another one came, and so the next day we went back and found the prints. There's a couple pictures I have with my foot next to Bigfoot, and we could see how big the foot was. So that was really fun, and they were playful, and they loved that we were out there exploring, that we were we're open to the spirit world and all the different realms, that we're not going out in fear, we're going out in love, and playfulness ourselves. And they could see that and they could read that. And so they thought they'd play with us.
Where are they from?
I don't have the answer. I recently went and I went to a conference by a Hopi elder, and he was saying that they were originally brought from a different planet, and that may be. My experience with them, I put them in the category of kind of along the lines of alien. I do believe they do come initially from somewhere else, but I believe that they do live physically on our planet most of the time. I believe that they can become invisible, so it's kind of like a ghost, or an alien that can cloak itself. But I do believe that they're both kind of physical and spiritual too, just like the aliens.
Maybe another dimension, and
yeah,
they
definitely
just kind of portal into our dimension once in a while.
Yes, yeah, and so people that go out and hunt them, it's kind of like when you're out there hunting, for animals. If they don't trust you, right, they're going to be harder to shoot. They're like, oh no, humans have guns, Well, Bigfoot is much the same way. They're wise. My experience or my belief is that they're wise and that they know that they have been hunted for a very long time. And so they're not readily going to make themselves come to you. I believe it's a nurtured relationship. They have to trust your intentions, your integrity. Why are you there? Why do you want to learn about them? And I feel like if you go in there with an open heart, they will be able to communicate with you and come to you.
Right, because maybe a lot of people think of them like just another big animal that isn't very smart, but they're very intelligent, probably way more intelligent than we are.
Definitely. Yeah, if you can think of any sort of being that has been here since the beginning of time, what wisdom must it have accumulated, right?
Right.
And probably a lot of interplanetary wisdom and just watching the timelines unfold and watching humans do their thing. Humans always think that we're smarter than everyone else, but we're just, we're newbies here. We are the new ones.
My understanding too is that if you see one, it's because they chose to let you see it.
Yes.
And it's a lot of work or energy on their part to be visible to us.
Just like a spirit. Same thing, right? So if your loved one wants to come to you, it takes a lot of energy for them to show up in a form that you can see visually. Even with ghosts, right? That's why they drain the energy out of an environment and you find cold spots. They need to get the energy somewhere because you're trying to come from the spiritual realm, basically, which is a different vibration, entering into the physical realm. There needs to be a method to get there, to bridge the two. Okay. And so it does take a lot of energy. They have to lower their vibration, or we have to raise our vibration and meet in the middle. There's some way to bridge it. And that's a lot of the work that I do, is helping humans raise their vibration, to become more aware of everything that's around us, to have these beautiful connections with different beings, whether it be aliens, Bigfoot, ghosts, loved ones in spirit. It's all a matter of frequency.
That energy drain you talked about reminds me of when Cherie and I were at the haunted hotel, the Grand Hotel in Jerome.
Oh, yes,
We spent 2 nights there, and Cherie just said how drained she felt.
Who doesn't love Jerome? It's fun. It's fun to go there. It's an exciting place to be. For me, as a sensitive, I can't stay there for longer than a meal. I have to get out.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a lot of spirits unhealed. There's a lot of lower vibrational energies. And so when you're there, it's kind of like you run wild and have fun, it's super, super haunted. But then do your cleansing work. You don't want to go there. I brought people there before and they come home with ghostly attachments.
Really?
They're sick, they're tired, they're moody, all kinds of stuff. And you're like, darn it, did you get an attachment? Get over here, let me clear you.
And now you did some work with Cherie. Thank you. I appreciate that. Did you sense any attachments like that?
I did. I didn't pinpoint that they were from Jerome specifically, but I did in part of the spiritual cleansing when I was clearing some things attached. I did get rid of some things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, Diana, what are some of the most interesting experiences you've had in Sedona with these different entities, and what were they?
That's a hard question. You know what? I would just say, because I don't want people to be scared when they come here, it just use some common sense, right, with what they're trying to connect with, and also when they open up that they're protecting and clearing. But most of my experiences here have been so beautiful. Most of them have just been with some Arcturians, actually, and a lot of Native Americans. It seems that every time I'm out hiking with a friend of mine, we get met by some Native American spirits that will walk with us, and then they will literally walk us with us back out and then stop about 100 feet short of where we're parked, and just kind of stay on the trail and wave.
Wow.
So they accompany us a lot. And they're very pleased that people are so interested in this area and are so respectful of this area. So I love that. I would say back in 2015, I stayed here for 6 weeks before I lived here. And I was on retreat and spent a lot of time out in nature. And a friend taught me about the Arcturian that had such a very strong presence here in Sedona, and especially by Cathedral.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were staying in a residence right there at the base of Cathedral, and she told me at that time, she said, you can work with them. They are free will. They do not have contracts. There's no exchange. In other words, like sometimes when you work with different beings, entities, aliens, there is an exchange ratio. Like, we'll help you, but you have to do this, right?
Interesting.
So it's not free will. But the Arcturians are free will. And they will help you because they're just trying to help boost and help enliven the planet and save the planet and the people here. And they help get rid of the darkness, right? But there's no exchange, no contract. You're not tied into anything. They'll just come and help you with your work if you want to call them. So we had an experience there when she was kind of initiating me to the idea. And this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, because we were in a space where Oak Creek winded around in a very private location. All of the Arcturians, it was like so many light beams filled the entire valley and the whole space that we were at. And they just kind of slowly came towards me with this tremendous amount of love. And I was like, it took my breath away. I was just like, what? Oh my God. And ever since then, it's just so easy when I call them in, when I'm doing my spiritual cleansing, when I'm doing my healing work. Sometimes I call them in, and when I do, they just all come the same way as a huge collective, beautiful healing energy. So that's something I can share.
That's beautiful. I got the chills when you said that.
Yeah, so I resonate very well with their energy. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So when we're seeing different craft or lights in the sky that are doing different things, who are they?
I use my intuitive abilities when I'm out there, of course. So when I start to see things, like I've had friends teach me, like, look for this, look for that. And then I love this about my friends because they always have apps on their phone to rule out satellites, to rule out space junk, to rule out anything else that could possibly be before we go, yes, it's definitively a UFO. So I love that. And it's really good, again, to use discernment when you're using any kind of spiritual gifts or you're working with the unknown. When I'm out there, like, I have seen some ships, like I would call it a mothership. And I'm not super into the UFO language. I just know authentic experience. And so how I describe it may not be words people are familiar with. But I saw a huge type of ship come cloaked through a cloud. And it just kind of briefly exposed itself and then kind of went back into the form of the cloud. And so that was watching over us one night when we were out there. Another time I intuitively saw and felt a huge alien presence that was watching us, but it was not like you would say like a human being, right? You're this tall and it was walking up to us. I don't see them like that. What I saw, he was so exaggerated in the size as a sort of overseer. If you can imagine, like, if we took all the humans and put them in a little globe that you shake and there's an alien out here watching, that's what it was like.
Interesting.
And I thought that was really interesting.
I think there's a Men in Black movie that kind of symbolizes something like that.
Oh, really?
Where we're a little teeny tiny, like a marble in an alien's pocket.
Yeah, and I just felt like that was like the presence was not like invading, intervening. It was watching observing, right? And so there's just, and I don't know if that was symbolic as one or the collective, that kind of an energy, right? We're observing, we're still watching, you know?
Is that mostly what they're doing? Just watching?
I feel it is. I mean, I know a lot of people, and again, a lot of people on their reservation land have negative experiences with UFOs. They get attacked, they have physical wounds.
Really?
Yes. Those are some things that I would like to see changed. I would like, so a lot of times, and I'll just mention this quick, but many times when people are having negative UFO experiences, they're simultaneously having negative alien UFO and entity. So they're having a spiritual attack, but it can be both.
Is it because they're at a low vibration state? So all negative entities want to feed on that low vibration person, or?
Sometimes it's going to be because of something in their genetics. So you can inherit the predisposition for entities and attachments. You can inherit your parents' wounds. There was a severe trauma that happened to your mother or your grandmother. You could be living with that vibrational frequency in your own cells and not even be aware of it. Okay.
Generational trauma.
Yes, exactly. Generational trauma, generational curses. We carry full memory of all our ancestors up to 7 generations back, right? So a lot of times when I'm working with people, we'll look for the trauma, and we don't go deep into it. We can determine what side of the family it's on, how many generations back, and then we can clear it through you. You can be the one to release it, not through doing deep work, but just releasing grandma's trauma. Boom.
That is
right?
really cool.
So but it's important to know, because a lot of people don't know, and because it's in their body, a lot of times that's the frequency they're operating out of, and so they go and they just repeat that pattern, and then now it's just multi-generational patterning, right? It's just like learned behavior. It's all around them, but it's like in their cells as well. That's all they know. So what I'm just seeing, with this waking up, is people are like, I don't need to be programmed to behave by community, by religion, by my genetics. I can wake up and be a free will being. I can really activate my connection with God and access my spiritual potential and be a free will being. I can create my life. I can be free from the shackles of all the different things that used to bind us into all these control centers.
Yeah, I love that. We are in control of our lives, and we can make a decision to change anything about our lives, especially the negative things.
Yes, yeah. And it's like, again, shifting that perspective on it is like, have the awareness about it, do something about it, and then you receive the higher vibration, And I received an extreme healing once. When I shifted my perspective, again, this was like, instead of forgiveness, it was shift my perspective. Whew, I did that and changed my perspective, and I thought we were having an earthquake. The ground was shaking.
Wow.
And I was like, what is going on? I didn't even know if they had earthquakes. I was in Idaho. And I ran outside and I was like freaking out. I'm like, what is happening? And I soon realized it was me, right? As soon as I shifted my perspective, my vibration shot through the roof, and that heaviness that I'd been carrying for like 40 years just came off me, and it just brought in so much more spiritual giftings, access to higher states of consciousness, access to, more spiritual abilities. So shifting your perspective is enough to like really shift higher. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And so do you have any experience with Bradshaw Ranch?
Because we go out there, a group of us, we spend some time out there, and my friends are so amazingly talented and interesting, and they all have different things that they bring to the experience. One day we were out there with a group, and one of the ladies had tripped, like she was with us on our thing. She tripped, she went down, and she was like, oh, I'm okay. And everyone, ran to her aid and helped her up. And just when she had tripped, I was behind about 6 or 7 people. I looked up and I had seen there was a hill, a bank kind of far across the field. And I had seen it go like this, like it pulsed out and then it went back. And that's what made her trip. And that's the kind of stuff that happens out there with dimensions shifting.
Interesting.
And so it can happen in the land, Bigfoot, ghosts, there's just all the stuff that happens out there. So you have to really be finely attuned when you're out there to anything that can happen, be super well protected, and always clear your energy when you leave.
We will keep that in mind as we head out there into the red rocks of Sedona. Diana, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
I really appreciate the time you spent with me, the interview, and working with Cherie.
You're welcome.
And we'll again include your contact information below so people can reach you from wherever in the world. We feel like we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And we're all transitioning to something better.
Yes.
And some of us are running into roadblocks along the way, and we need that, need some help sometimes.
Definitely.
And because like it or not, whether you like your neighbor or like these other people in this other country, we're all one. We're all in this together.
Yeah, that's the only way we're going to get through it. And that's what I think, really coming into your own power doesn't mean power over another. Coming into your own power is really raising the vibration of the collective. It's raising the frequency that we all experience each other on. We're able to operate more out of love. Again, honoring what other people's paths are. We're not going to poke our nose in. You know what I mean? It's like I'm going to be in this space, and around me, if I can create a loving, vital, beautiful home and relationships that I draw in close are like that. And then we go out another layer because they're doing that, and we go out another layer because they're doing that. It's by choice that we are raising frequencies and vibrations and staying in the vibration of love. And it is contagious. It continues to spread. You don't have to look for the problem and fix it there. You can just start right here and start just attracting it around you and setting that as your new set point.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.